The execution lasted 11 seconds. The galaxy would remember it for 10,000 years. Ambassador Elias Vance stood alone beneath the white lights of the Galactic Council chamber, his hands bound behind his back by magnetic restraints. Around him sat 912 representatives from civilizations scattered across 40,000 light-years. Some watched with satisfaction, some with curiosity. A few looked away. No one stood. Elias slowly raised his head. Across the enormous chamber, High Chancellor Valor leaned forward from his elevated throne. The Karun Chancellor was a creature of black armor and silver skin with 6 eyes arranged around a narrow skull. "You were given a choice, Ambassador," Valor said. Elias smiled faintly. "I was given a surrender order. You were given peace." "No." Elias looked around the chamber. "You were given our surrender." A murmur passed through the delegates. Valor's lower jaw tightened. "Humanity has refused to recognize the authority of this council. Humanity has refused to recognize an organization that invades sovereign worlds and calls the invasion a peacekeeping operation." The chamber erupted. Hundreds of alien voices shouted at once. Elias waited. He had spent 6 years learning how the council worked. He knew their favorite weapon wasn't the fleet. It wasn't the bomb. It wasn't even the economic blockade. It was fear. Fear made smaller civilizations obedient. Fear made representatives vote yes. Fear made entire species kneel before they were even attacked, and the council believed humanity was afraid. That was their mistake. Valor raised one hand. Silence returned. "You continue to insult this institution." Elias shrugged. "You're about to execute me. I don't think diplomacy is going particularly well." A few representatives actually laughed. Valor didn't. "Humanity has been warned 3 times. We received your warnings." "You ignored them." "Yes. You were instructed to withdraw from the Perseus corridor. We refused. You were instructed to dismantle your military shipyards. We refused. You were instructed to place your planetary defense network under council supervision." Elias looked directly into Valor's central eye, and we refused. Valor stood. "Then the council has no alternative." Elias sighed. "There is always an alternative. Not today." The execution platform rose beneath Elias's feet. A transparent energy field surrounded him. The chamber grew silent. For the first time, Elias's expression changed. Not fear, sadness. He looked toward the human delegation. There were only 3 people sitting there. Ambassador Elias Vance had been the last official human diplomat permitted inside the council chamber. His deputy Mara Chen sat behind him. She was pale. Beside her was Admiral Thomas Reed, Earth's military observer. Elias looked at them. "Don't." Mara's eyes filled with tears. "Elias, don't." His voice was quiet. "Whatever happens next, don't make it personal." Admiral Reed stared at him, then nodded. Elias turned back toward the Chancellor, Chancellor Valor. "What? You should know something." Valor smiled. "This is your final opportunity for diplomacy?" "No." Elias looked up toward the ceiling. "It's your final opportunity to run." The chamber went completely still. Valor laughed. "You threaten the Galactic Council while standing on an execution platform?" "No." Elias smiled. "I'm warning you. The execution system activated." White light swallowed him. 11 seconds, then there was nothing left. The chamber remained silent for 3 seconds. Then Valor sat down. "It is finished." Admiral Reed stood. "No." Valor looked at him. Reed's expression was cold. "It has started." He turned toward the human delegation. "Mara." She stood. Every human in the chamber already knew what was coming. Reed touched the communication device on his wrist. "Send the message." Mara hesitated for half a second, then pressed the button. Across the galaxy, a signal left the council chamber. It reached Mars, then Earth, then the Moon, then every human colony, every fleet, every military command, every mining station, every civilian vessel equipped with long-range communications. The message contained only 7 words. "Elias Vance is dead. Protocol Black begins." And then the galaxy changed. Earth did not declare war. That was the first thing the Council found strange. There were no human battle fleets appearing on their borders. No missiles, no threats, no angry speeches. Instead, humanity disappeared. Human trade vessels stopped arriving. Human diplomats left foreign capitals. Human corporations froze their assets. Human colonies stopped responding to Council communications. Then, 12 minutes after the execution, something appeared in orbit above the Council's capital world, a single human ship. It was enormous, but it did not fire, it simply appeared. The Council's orbital defense network immediately targeted it. "Identify vessel," Valor ordered. The defense officer stared at his display. "Unknown configuration. Human? Yes. How many ships?" The officer swallowed. "One." Valor relaxed. "One ship?" "Yes." The Chancellor smiled. "Destroy it." The orbital batteries charged. Then every screen in the Council chamber went black. A human face appeared. Admiral Thomas Reed. He stood inside a dark command center. Behind him, hundreds of officers worked in silence. "Good morning," Reed said. Valor stared at the screen. "You have violated Council airspace." Reed nodded. "Correct. You will withdraw immediately." "No." "You are surrounded by the combined defensive fleet of the Council." Reed looked amused. "Are we?" Valor frowned. Then one of his officers shouted, "Chancellor, what?" "We've lost the orbital network." "What?" "Not destroyed." The officer's voice trembled. "Disabled." Valor looked toward the screen. Reed spoke again. "You've got 10 minutes. Valor laughed. 10 minutes for what? Reed's face became completely expressionless. To run. The Council chamber exploded into chaos. The first minute passed. The Council ordered its military fleet to mobilize. Thousands of ships launched from orbital stations. Then something impossible happened. Every human vessel within Council territory activated. Cargo ships, research vessels, civilian transports, mining platforms, even old freighters. They changed course simultaneously. Valor watched the tactical display. Red icons appeared everywhere. Not thousands. Millions. Human ships had been inside Council space for decades. They had been carrying food. Medicine, machines, workers, scientists, engineers. Nobody had considered them military assets, because humanity had never advertised them as military assets. A cargo freighter suddenly opened its hull. Inside were 24 rail cannons. A medical ship released autonomous defense drones. A mining vessel deployed 6 electromagnetic weapons designed to break asteroids apart. A passenger liner shut down its engines. Then its entire hull unfolded. The Council fleet stared at it. It was a warship. It had been disguised as a civilian vessel for 14 years. "That's impossible," Valor whispered. Reed's voice came through the chamber. "Humanity learned a long time ago that the safest weapon is the one nobody knows exists." Valor slammed his hand against the throne. "Destroy them!" The Council fleet opened fire. Human ships vanished beneath beams of plasma. For a moment it seemed the Council had won. Then the human vessels moved. Not backward. Forward. They flew directly through the defensive formation. The Council's weapons were designed to fight predictable formations. Humanity did not use predictable formations. The fleet split into hundreds of groups. Each group attacked a different weakness. Power stations, communication relays, fuel depots, sensor arrays, navigation gates. No human ship targeted civilian habitats. Not one. Reed had given them a rule. Military infrastructure only. Humanity followed it perfectly. That terrified the Council more than indiscriminate destruction ever could. Because this wasn't rage, it was planning. At minute 4, the Council lost the Perseus Gate. At minute 5, it lost the Orion Gate. At minute 6, every military communication channel within 300 light-years became silent. At minute 7, the Council finally understood. Humanity wasn't invading. Humanity was removing the Council's ability to fight. Valor stared at the tactical map. What do they want? No one answered. Finally, the representative from the Veyron Dominion spoke. Perhaps surrender. Valor looked at him. No. Then what? The human screen activated again. Admiral Reed appeared. You have 3 minutes. Valor leaned toward the screen. What are your demands? Reed shook his head. You don't understand. Then explain. We aren't making demands. Then why are you doing this? Reed looked away for a moment. Then back at the Chancellor. Because you killed Elias, Valor scoffed. You're starting a galactic war over one ambassador? Reed's expression hardened. No. He leaned closer. We're ending one. The chamber fell silent. Reed continued. You thought Elias was important because he represented humanity. He wasn't. He was important because he believed you could still be reasoned with. Valor's eyes narrowed. And now we're here to prove him wrong. Minute 8. The Council's flagship fleet arrived. 8,000 warships, the largest military force ever assembled in known space. Valor finally smiled. Admiral Reed. Yes? Your 10 minutes are almost over. Reed nodded. I know. You have failed. No? Reed looked at his officers. Phase 3. Every officer stood. Phase 3 confirmed. The human ship above the Council capital opened its main reactor. The Council defense network detected an energy surge. Fire. Thousands of weapons targeted the ship. The ship vanished. The Council celebrated. Then alarms began screaming. Chancellor! What now? The officer stared at the tactical display. The human fleet has disappeared. What? All of them. Valor stood. Where did they go? The answer came from somewhere behind him. Behind you. Valor turned. The enormous windows of the Council chamber showed the impossible. Human ships were everywhere, above the capital, around the orbital stations, behind the fleet, inside the defensive perimeter. Not thousands, millions. The Council had been staring at false targets. The human fleet had been using artificial signatures to make the Council think it knew where they were. The real fleet had already entered the capital system. Admiral Reed appeared on the main screen. 10 minutes. He looked at the clock. Exactly. Then the human fleet stopped. Every weapon powered down. The Council waited. Valor stared at Reed. What now? Reed answered calmly. Now you listen. The human admiral transmitted a single file. It appeared on every Council terminal. Valor opened it. His expression changed. Inside were records. Secret Council orders, illegal invasions, mass executions, resource theft, black site experiments, entire civilizations erased from official history. The Council had committed atrocities for centuries, and humanity had proof. Not rumors, not accusations, proof. Every order, every signature, every transmission, every financial record. The files were authenticated by Council encryption keys. Valor's face became pale. Where did you get these? Reed smiled. Elias. Valor froze. What? He spent 6 years here. You thought he was negotiating trade agreements. He was. He was also collecting evidence. Valor stared at the screen. No? Yes. Impossible. Reed's voice softened. You underestimated him. The Chancellor looked toward Mara Chen. She stood silently inside the chamber. You knew? Mara shook her head. Not all of it. Reed continued. Elias believed the Council could change. He spent 6 years trying to prove it. You killed him before he could finish. Reed looked at the Council representatives. So we finished it for him. The Council fleet began retreating, not because humanity destroyed it, because its commanders received another message. Their own governments had seen the evidence. One by one, Council member worlds withdrew support, then another, then another. Within an hour, the Galactic Council no longer controlled the galaxy. It was only a room full of frightened politicians. Valor stood. This is treason. Mara looked at him. No. She walked toward the center of the chamber. This is consequence. Valor stared at her. You think humanity has won? Mara shook her head. No. She looked toward the empty execution platform. I think humanity lost someone. Her voice cracked. And you made sure we would never forget him. She turned toward the Council. You wanted humanity to kneel. She paused. You should have remembered something. Every human officer in the chamber stood. Mara continued, "We kneel at graves." 3 days later, the Galactic Council dissolved. Not because humanity conquered it, because the galaxy no longer believed in it. The surviving representatives created a temporary government. The First Order was simple. No civilization could possess authority over another without consent. The Second Order abolished Council military occupation. The Third recognized every species destroyed or displaced during the Council's reign. The Fourth established an independent tribunal. And the Fifth was written by Mara Chen herself. The murder of a diplomatic representative is an act of war against the civilization he represents. Humanity signed it. Then something unexpected happened. Humanity did not occupy the Council capital. It left. Every human warship withdrew. The orbital weapons were dismantled. The military installations were abandoned. The Council expected demands, territory, resources, reparations. Humanity asked for none of them. Instead, Mara Chen delivered one final message. She stood in the same chamber where Elias Vance had been executed. The execution platform was still there. Nobody had removed it. Mara looked into the cameras. To the people of the galaxy, "We did not come here because we wanted your worlds. We did not come here because we wanted your resources. We came because you killed one of ours." She paused, "and because he believed your people deserved better." Her eyes moved across the chamber. He was right. Mara stepped away. The broadcast ended. 20 years later, historians would call the event the 10-Minute War. But that name wasn't entirely accurate. The war didn't last 10 minutes. Humanity's military operation lasted exactly 10 minutes. The political collapse took 3 days. The rebuilding took 20 years, and Elias Vance's dream took even longer. A memorial was eventually built on the Council capital. It wasn't enormous. It wasn't made of gold. It was simply a stone wall. Thousands of names were carved into it. Not only human names. Names of alien diplomats, scientists, children, soldiers, entire civilizations whose existence had once been erased by the Council. At the center was a single sentence. Elias Vance had written it in his private journal years before his death. It read, "The purpose of diplomacy is not to make your enemy afraid of you. It is to make him believe tomorrow is worth reaching." Mara stood before the memorial on the 20th anniversary of his execution. She was older now. Her hair was silver. Her uniform was gone. She wore civilian clothes. A young alien boy approached her. He was barely 10. What did Ambassador Vance look like? Mara smiled. He looked tired. The boy laughed. That's all? He was usually tired. Was he a warrior? Mara looked at the memorial. No. Then how did he defeat the Council? Mara was quiet for a moment. He didn't. The boy frowned. Then who did? Mara looked toward the stars, the people who listened to him. She placed a small flower beneath his name. Then she walked away. Above her, hundreds of ships crossed the night sky. Human ships. Alien ships. Ships from worlds that had once been enemies. They traveled together now, not because Earth ruled them, not because anyone forced them, because after everything the galaxy had finally learned the lesson Elias Vance died trying to teach. Peace was not weakness, kindness was not surrender, and humanity did not need to rule the galaxy. It only needed to make sure no one ever ruled it through fear again. Far beyond the memorial, Earth received a transmission. A new civilization had discovered the galactic network. They were young, afraid, and surrounded by hostile powers. The message was brief. We need help. Earth's diplomatic council read it. For several seconds, nobody spoke. Then the oldest representative in the room smiled. Send a ship. The youngest diplomat looked surprised. Which ship? The old representative looked toward the stars. A diplomatic one. Not a warship? No. She smiled. Let's give Elias one more chance to be right. And somewhere, beneath the distant light of 1,000 stars, humanity's first ambassador was finally home. The diplomatic ship Elias Vance crossed the edge of known space. For the first time in 20 years, humanity was sending an ambassador into a region that had no official. They made no star charts, no trade routes, no recognized civilizations. Only one message: we need help. The transmission had come from a species called the Averin. Their homeworld was 3 days beyond the old Council's mapped territory, and according to every surviving record, nothing lived there. That was the first problem, the Ephiri. Second was the message itself. Had been transmitted using a human encryption protocol. A protocol that had not existed when Elias Vance was alive. Ambassador Mara Chen stood in the command room, staring at the decoded signal. Play it again. The recording began. A frightened alien voice spoke. Humanity, static, please, more static. Do not trust the stars. Mara frowned. The message continued. They are listening. Then came 6 seconds of silence, and a final sentence. Your ambassador was not the first. The recording ended. Nobody spoke. Captain. Daniel Reyes looked at Mara. What does that mean? Mara didn't answer, because she already knew. She remembered the classified files Elias had left behind. There had been references to missing diplomats, hundreds of them, representatives, who had disappeared after questioning the council. The official records said they had resigned, retired, returned home, but Elias had discovered something different. Their ships had never reached home. Their identities had simply been erased. Mara looked at the stars. Change course. Reyes looked surprised. Toward Averin? No. Then where? Mara pointed at the navigation screen. The last location of the first missing ambassador. 3 hours later, the Elias Vance entered. The dead star system. There were no planets, no stations, no signals, only a small moon orbiting a dying red star. Reyes frowned. There's nothing here. Mara looked at the sensor officer. Run a gravitational scan. The officer did, then froze. That's impossible. What? There is something beneath the moon. How deep? The officer swallowed. 6 kilometers. Mara stood. Take us down. The ship descended. Through the thin atmosphere, the moon was gray, lifeless, covered in craters, nothing. Moved it, then the sensors detected an artificial structure beneath the surface. The crew began cutting through the rock. They expected a bunker. Instead, they found a city, an underground city. It stretched for hundreds of kilometers, thousands of buildings, millions of rooms, and inside those rooms were objects, human objects, alien objects, diplomatic, seals, military uniforms, personal belongings, thousands of them. Mara walked through the first chamber. She stopped. A small metal badge lay on a table. She recognized it immediately. That's impossible. Reyes stepped beside her. What is it? Mara picked it up. The diplomatic insignia of Ambassador Jonathan Hale. Who? Mara stared at him. He was humanity's ambassador before. Elias. Reyes looked at the badge. But he died 50 years ago. Mara shook her head. No, she turned the badge over. There was a date engraved on the ray. Back 27 years ago, according to this, she whispered. He was alive after that. Then the lights came, on every light in the underground city, one by one, until the entire chamber glowed. A voice filled the corridor. Finally, Mara froze. The voice was human. Not alien, human. Someone came looking. Reyes drew his weapon. Identify yourself. A figure stepped from the darkness. He was old, very old. His hair was white. His uniform was torn. But Mara recognized the insignia. She couldn't breathe. Ambassador Hale? The old man smiled. I wondered how long it would take. Mara stared at him. You're alive. Yes. But the council said... The council lied. Hale looked past her. How many humans came with you? 300. His expression changed. That's too many. Mara frowned. Why? Hale looked toward the ceiling. Because now they know you're here. The lights suddenly turned red. A warning siren began. Reyes shouted. What's happening? Hale ran toward the control room. Leave. Mara followed. Who's coming? Hale stopped. He turned toward her. You destroyed the council. Yes. You exposed their crimes. Yes. You think you won? Mara's expression hardened. Did we not? Hale shook his head. The council wasn't the top of the pyramid. He activated a massive display. The galaxy appeared. Then, the image zoomed out, far beyond the known. Stars beyond the council territories, beyond the regions humanity had ever explored. There was something else. A massive dark region surrounded the galaxy. It wasn't empty space. It was a structure, a wall, a barrier. Thousands of light years across. Mara stared. What is that? Hale answered quietly. A prison. Reyes looked confused. For what? Hale looked directly at Mara. For them, the display changed. Thousands of symbols appeared. Every symbol represented a civilization. Most were marked in red, destroyed, extinct, but one symbol remained, humanity. Hale whispered, "They've been watching Earth for centuries." Mara felt a chill. Who? Hale's answer came softly. The architects. The first impact struck the moon. The entire underground city shook. Reyes shouted, "We're under attack." Hale nodded. "They followed you." Mara looked at him. "Who?" Hale didn't answer. Instead, he opened a secure channel. A transmission. Appeared black screen, then two silver. Eyes, no face, no body, just eyes. The voice that followed wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. Humanity. Mara stepped forward. "Identify yourself." The creature laughed. "You still believe names matter? Who are you?" "We are the reason your council existed." Mara's blood went cold. The voice continued. "The council was never created to rule the galaxy. It was created to keep the galaxy quiet." Reyes stared at the screen. Quiet from what? The answer came immediately. From us. The transmission ended. Silence. Then Hale whispered, "Now you understand." Mara looked at him. No, she turned toward the command center. "I understand that they think we're afraid." She activated the ship-wide communication system. Every human soldier heard her voice. "Prepare the fleet." Reyes looked at her. "We don't know what we're fighting." Mara smiled faintly. Neither did Elias. She looked toward the stars, and he still stood there. The first enemy fleet emerged from hyperspace. Human sensors detected 1,000 ships, then 10,000, then 100,000. Then the sensors stopped. Counting. Reyes stared at the tactical display. "How many?" The officer shook his head. "Millions." Mara walked onto the bridge. "Open a channel." "To them?" "Yes." The channel opened. The black screen appeared again. The silver eyes returned. "You have 10 minutes, Mara said. The creature laughed. "Do you truly believe your little threat has meaning?" Mara smiled. "No." She looked at the fleet outside, then at the ancient city beneath and then at Elias Vance's old diplomatic insignia in her hand. "My threat isn't the point. The creature's eyes narrowed. "What is?" Mara raised the insignia. "The point is that you made the same mistake the council made." "What mistake?" "You assumed humanity only knows how to fight when we're angry." She turned away. "We fight when we're protecting someone." The channel closed. Reyes looked at her. "Commander." Mara stared through the bridge windows. "Yeah? What are our orders?" She smiled. "Wake Earth." On the far side of the galaxy, alarms began screaming. Every human military base activated. Every defense satellite turned toward deep space. Every dormant warship received the same command. Protocol Black. 4. Then another message appeared, one that had never been transmitted before. Protocol Vance. On Earth. The president of the Terran Federation stood in the underground command center. The room was silent. An officer approached. "Madam President." "Yes?" "We have received the transmission." "What did they say?" The officer hesitated. "They said humanity has 10 minutes. The president looked at the massive star map, then she smiled. "Good." The officer looked confused. "Good?" The president turned. "For 20 years, we've been waiting for someone stupid enough to give us a deadline." She pressed one button. Across Earth, millions of military systems awakened, deep beneath the oceans. Enormous structures opened. On the moon, hidden shipyards powered up. Around Mars, ancient defense platforms came online. And beyond Neptune, Something humanity had built in secret for 20 years began moving. It was larger than a planet. It had never been tested, never fired, never even named until now. The president looked at the screen. Send them one message. The whole officer waited. What message? The president smiled. Tell them Elias Vance was right. About what? She looked toward the stars. That tomorrow is worth reaching. Then the enormous machine beyond Neptune opened its eyes, and for the first time in recorded history, the galaxy saw humanity's real weapon. The enemy fleet filled the stars, millions of vessels, each one larger than a human destroyer, each one carrying weapons that had never appeared in any galactic database. On the bridge of the Elias Vance, every human officer stared at the tactical display. Captain Daniel Reyes broke the silence. Admiral, Mara Chen stood beside him. Yes, the enemy has started moving. How long? 7 minutes until they reach weapons range. Mara looked through the viewport. Beyond the glass, space itself seemed to darken beneath the enormous fleet. Then we have 7 minutes. Reyes swallowed. To do what? Mara looked at the ancient insignia in her hand. To remember who we are. The enemy opened communications. Those silver eyes appeared again. You have 7 minutes. Humanity. Mara sat in the command chair. You keep saying that. We are giving you time to surrender. No, you cannot defeat us, Mara. Smiled. That's what the council said, and the council was primitive. Still, lost. The creature's eyes narrowed. You misunderstand. What stands before you? Mara leaned forward. No. I think you're the ones who misunderstand. The transmission ended. Reyes looked at her. Was that supposed to intimidate them? No. What was it? Mara looked at the tactical display. Buying time. For what? She pointed toward the edge of the system. Look, Reyes turned. Nothing was there. Then the stars disappeared. Not one, not 10 millions. A section of space several light years wide became completely black. The sensor officer screamed, "Contact!" Size, we don't know. Mass, unknown. Velocity. The officer stared at the readings. It's not moving. Reyes frowned. Then why are the stars disappearing? The officer's face went pale because something is moving through them. The darkness approached, slowly, silently, and then humanity's hidden weapon emerged. It was impossible to describe. There was no single hull, no engines, no wings. It looked like an artificial moon surrounded by thousands of enormous rings. Each ring was larger than Earth's moon. Inside the structure, billions of lights moved. Energy flowed between the rings like rivers. At the center was a sphere of absolute darkness. Reyes whispered, "What the hell is that?" Mara answered, "The Ark. You knew about this?" "No." "Then how?" "I read Elias's final files." She looked at the enormous machine. He found references to it. Reyes stared. What did he call it? Mara looked at the machine. The last argument. 20 years earlier, Elias Vance had discovered something. Inside the Council's secret archives, it wasn't a weapon, it was a warning. Thousands of civilizations had disappeared before humanity ever reached the stars. Not conquered, not defeated, erased. Every civilization had eventually encountered the same enemy, and every civilization had made the same mistake. They fought the enemy. Conventionally, they built larger fleets, stronger, weapons more powerful, shields, and they lost. But one civilization had survived barely. They built something different, a machine designed not to destroy ships, not to destroy planets, but to manipulate the battlefield. Self.gravity.time.space probability. The machine had been hidden beneath Neptune. Humanity had spent 20 years rebuilding it, and now it was awake. The enemy fleet began firing. Millions of weapons crossed the darkness. The Elias Vance shook shields. The human fleet activated defensive systems. For 30 seconds, the battle looked normal. Then the Ark moved. It didn't accelerate. It didn't turn. It simply changed location. One moment it was beyond Neptune. The next it was between the enemy fleet and the human ships. The enemy fired again. The Ark opened its rings. The weapons disappeared. Every missile, every plasma beam, every energy weapon gone. Reyes stared. Where did they go? Mara looked at the sensors. They didn't disappear. Then what happened? They never arrived. Reyes looked confused. Mara pointed at the display. The arc changed the distance. The enemy fleet was suddenly millions of light years away. Not physically, geometrically. Space between the two fleets had stretched. 1,000 kilometers became 1,000 light years. The enemy ships were still there, but their weapons could no longer reach humanity. The silver-eyed creature returned to the communication channel for the first time. Its voice sounded uncertain. What have you done? Mara smiled, moved the battlefield. The enemy fleet attempted to retreat. The arc followed. Again, space changed. The enemy jumped. Humanity jumped with them. They jumped again. Humanity was already waiting. The enemy tried to surround Earth. The arc folded space around the planet. The fleet found itself attacking. Empty space. Earth was no longer where it appeared to be. The enemy began firing randomly. Nothing hit. Mara watched the display. Now the human fleet moved. Not toward the enemy. Around it, human ships attacked. Engines. Communication nodes. Command. Vessels. Supply ships. They didn't need to destroy the fleet. They simply disconnected. Millions of enemy vessels became isolated. One by one. They lost coordination. Reyes stared at the display. We're winning. Mara shook her head. No. Then what are we doing? Surviving. She looked at the silver-eyed creature. It hasn't shown us its real weapon yet. The enemy fleet suddenly stopped. Every ship at the same time. The entire battlefield became silent. Mara stood. That's not good. Reyes nodded. Definitely not good. The stars began flickering. 1, then 10, then thousands, then billions. Entire solar systems vanished from the tactical display. The sensor officer screamed. Admiral, what? It's happening everywhere. What is? Something is turning stars off. Mara stared at the screen. The silver-eyed creature appeared. You believed the arc was your secret weapon? Mara said nothing. You believed you could control space. The creature smiled. You forgot something. What? We created the laws of this battlefield. The enemy activated its true weapon. The galaxy screamed. Mara remembered Elias, the execution platform, the council, the 10 minutes, the arc, the choir, everything. Why did Elias have to die? The first became silent, then answered, because his death was not supposed to happen. Mara's expression changed. What? The council killed him because they believed he had discovered the truth. He had. Yes, but they misunderstood the truth. What truth? The first looked at her. Humanity was never created to defeat the galaxy. Humanity was created to connect it. Mara stared. The ark was built to preserve civilizations. The Pacific structure was built to awaken your species. The choir was the final test. The council was the warning. And Elias, the first paused, was the proof. Mara's voice became quiet. Proof of what? That humanity would choose others even when there was nothing to. Cain the first opened a portal. Mara saw Elias, not a recording, not a memory. Elias stood inside a small garden beneath a blue sky. He looked exactly as he had 20 years earlier. Mara couldn't breathe. Elias. He smiled. Hello, Mara. She stepped forward. You're alive. No. Her eyes filled with tears. Then what am I seeing? A memory. Mara laughed through the tears. You always did know how to make things complicated. Elias smiled. I missed you too. She stared at him. You knew? I knew I might die. You knew the council would execute you? No, Elias looked toward the garden. I knew they were afraid. Of you? Not me. He looked back at her. Of what humans might become if they stopped being afraid. Mara was silent. Then she asked the question she had carried for decades. Did we do the right thing? Elias smiled. You're asking the wrong question. What should I ask? Did we choose? Mara looked at him. Yes. Then whatever comes next. He smiled. Is yours. The image began fading. Mara reached toward him. Wait. Elias stopped. She whispered, I never got to say goodbye. He smiled. You just did. Then he disappeared. The first watched Mara carefully. You understand now. Mara nodded. I understand enough. What will you do? Mara looked toward the infinite silver ocean. You gave humanity a choice. Yes. Then we're going home. The first looked surprised. You don't want our technology? No. Knowledge? No. Immortality? Mara smiled. Especially no. Why? Because humans have spent too much of our history trying to become something we're not. She turned toward Reyes. Let's go home. Before they left, the first gave humanity one final gift, not a weapon, not a machine, a map. It showed every known galaxy, every civilization, every dangerous region, every forgotten world, and beyond. Millions of unexplored galaxies. Mara stared at the map. How many civilizations are out there? The first smiled. More than you can imagine. Are they peaceful? No, Mara laughed. Of course. Some will hate you. Some will fear you. Some will try to conquer you. Some will ask for help, Mara nodded, and some will become friends. The first smiled. Exactly. The human ship returned to the universe. When it appeared near Earth, thousands of ships surrounded it. Human ships, alien ships, former enemies, new allies, everyone wanted to know what humanity had discovered beyond reality. Mara stepped onto the command deck. Reyes looked at her. What do we tell them? Mara looked toward Earth, then at the millions of ships waiting for her answer. The truth. What truth? That we're not special because someone made us special. Reyes smiled. Then what makes us special? Mara looked at the stars. We chose what to become. 1 year later, the galaxy gathered for the first anniversary of the awakening. There was no throne, no chancellor, no supreme ruler. Every civilization had one voice. The memorial to Elias. Vance stood at the center. Mara's successor walked to the podium. He looked across the enormous gathering. 21 years ago, an ambassador was executed. His civilization was given 10 minutes to run. A few delegates smiled. They expected humanity to respond with revenge. He paused. We did. Laughter spread through the chamber. But revenge wasn't the end. He looked toward the memorial. We could have taken power. We could have conquered the worlds that once oppressed us. We could have become the new council. We didn't, because Elias Vance taught us something. The chamber became silent. Victory is not becoming the thing you defeated. Victory is having the power to become it. In choosing not to, the crowd stood, one civilization, then another, then millions. For the first time, every species in the galaxy stood together, not because they were afraid, because they chose to. Years passed. The galaxy changed. Wars became rarer, not impossible. Humanity never pretended conflict could disappear. But when wars began, there were diplomats. When worlds suffered, there were rescue ships. When civilizations were discovered, they were welcomed. And whenever someone suggested creating another Galactic Council with absolute authority, humanity's answer was always the same. No, never again. Earth remained powerful, but it never became an empire. Humanity remained dangerous, but it chose restraint. Humanity remained imperfect, but it refused to stop learning, and every generation was taught the same story, not the story of the council, not the story of the acquired, not even the story of the ancient. First, the story began with a man standing alone on an execution platform. An alien chancellor told him, "You have 10 minutes." Elias Vance smiled and answered, "You should run." Many centuries later, a child visited his memorial. The child was not human. She was from a species that had been extinct before the awakening. A teacher had brought her there because every student in the galaxy learned about Elias. She looked up at the monument. Was he a hero? The teacher thought for a moment. Yes. Was he a great warrior? No. Was he a king? No. Then why does everyone remember him? The teacher smiled. Because when everyone around him believed violence was the only language left, she looked at Elias's name. He kept speaking. The child placed a small flower beneath the monument. Then she noticed the inscription. She read it aloud. "Purpose of diplomacy is not to make your enemy afraid of you," she continued. "It is to make him believe tomorrow is worth Reaching, the child looked at the stars. Did humanity save the galaxy? The teacher smiled. No. Then who did? The teacher looked around. At humans, aliens, former enemies, new friends, millions of ships traveling peacefully through the sky. Everyone did. And somewhere beyond the universe, the first watched. They had created humanity because they were afraid. They had expected humanity to become another version of themselves. Instead, humanity had done something they never could. Humanity had learned to be powerful, without becoming cruel, strong without becoming arrogant, dangerous, without becoming evil, and most importantly, human. The first smiled, then they closed the ancient door because there was nothing left to teach. Humanity had finally understood. They saw universe did not need a ruler. It needed people willing to protect one another, and if something ever came from the darkness again, if another choir appeared, if another council rose, if another enemy threatened the stars, humanity would not face it alone, because Elias Vance had been right. Tomorrow was worth reaching, and humanity had made sure the galaxy could reach it. Across known space, gravitational fields changed, stars shifted, planets moved, wormholes collapsed, entire hyperspace routes disappeared. Human ships were thrown thousands of light years off course. The Ark shook violently. Reyes grabbed the console. What is happening? Mara looked at the readings. They're attacking the laws of physics. That isn't possible. It wasn't supposed to. The Ark began losing power. One of its enormous rings cracked. Then another. Warning. Lights filled the bridge. Ark integrity at 70%. 60? 50. Reyes looked at Mara. We can't take this. Mara looked at the dying machine. Then she remembered something Elias had once told her. He had been sitting in her office 20 years. Earlier, she had asked him why he continued, negotiating with the council when they clearly hated humanity. His answer had been simple. Because if you stop believing people can change, you've already become the thing you're fighting. Mara closed her eyes, then opened them. Open every channel. Reyes looked confused. To whom? Everyone. Humanity? No. Mara looked toward the stars. Everyone. Across the galaxy. Thousands of civilizations received a human transmission. Mara. Jen appeared on their screens. She didn't threaten them. She didn't demand their loyalty. She told them the truth. The council lied to you. The enemy lied to you. They told you that. Survival requires obedience. It doesn't. They told you that you're alone. You aren't. She looked directly into the camera. For centuries, we've fought each other because someone taught us to fear the civilization next to. So that ends today. We don't need your ships. We don't need your weapons. We need you to choose. Silence. Then Mara said the words that changed the galaxy. Stand together. For 30 seconds, nothing happened. Then a signal appeared. One civilization, then another, then 10, then 100, thousands, millions. Across the galaxy, ships began moving, not human. Ships, not alien ships, former enemies, former council. Members' worlds that had once hated humanity. They entered the, battlefield. The silver-eyed creature watched. What are they doing? Mara answered. Choosing. The first alien fleet arrived, then the second, then the third. Weapons opened fire, not at humanity, at the enemy. The galaxy became a battlefield. But something had changed. Humanity was no longer fighting alone. The Ark stabilized. Its broken rings began glowing. Reyes stared. Admiral, what? Look at the Ark. Mara turned. The alien fleets were feeding energy into millions of ships, millions of reactors, all connected. The Ark's damaged rings began repairing themselves. Mara understood. It wasn't designed to fight alone. Reyes smiled. What was it designed for? Mara looked at the galaxy. For everyone. The silver-eyed creature screamed. For the first time, it sounded afraid. You cannot stop us. Mara stepped toward the screen. We don't have to stop you. She looked at the millions of ships surrounding the enemy. We just have to outlast you. The Ark activated, space folded. The enemy fleet was, trapped inside a massive gravitational. The enemy tried to escape. It couldn't. One by one, its ship shut down. Then the silver-eyed creature transmitted one final message. "You have no idea what you are awakening." Mara's face hardened. "Then tell us." Silence. "Who are you?" The creature answered. "We are not the enemy." Mara froze. "What?" "We are the prison guards." The transmission ended. Every sensor on the bridge began screaming. Reyes turned toward the tactical display. "Admiral." Mara looked. Beyond the enemy fleet, something was approaching. Something much larger, something that made the enemy's millions of ships look like dust. A crack appeared across space, not a wormhole, not a gate, a crack, something on the other side was pushing through. The silver-eyed creature transmitted one final warning. "You wanted to know what we were protecting. The galaxy from." The crack widened. A shape appeared. Behind it, Mara stared. The entire bridge went silent. Then the creature spoke. "Now you know." The crack opened completely, and two enormous eyes appeared. On the other side, they were larger than stars, and they were looking directly at Earth. Across known space, gravitational fields changed, stars shifted, planets moved, wormholes collapsed, entire hyperspace routes disappeared. Human ships were thrown thousands of light years off course. The Ark shook violently. Reyes grabbed the console. "What is happening?" Mara looked at the readings. "They're attacking the laws of physics." "That isn't possible. It wasn't supposed to." The Ark began losing power. One of its enormous rings cracked. Then another. Warning. Lights filled the bridge. Ark integrity at 70%. 60? 50. Reyes looked at Mara. "We can't take this." Mara looked at the dying machine. Then she remembered something Elias had once told her. He had been sitting in her office 20 years. Earlier, she had asked him why he continued, negotiating with the Council when they clearly hated humanity. His answer had been simple. "Because if you stop believing people can change, you've already become the thing you're fighting." Mara closed her eyes, then opened them. "Open every channel." Reyes looked confused. "To whom?" "Everyone." "Humanity?" "No." Mara looked toward the stars. "Everyone. Across the galaxy. Thousands of civilizations received a human transmission." "Mara." Jen appeared on their screens. She didn't threaten them. She didn't demand their loyalty. She told them the truth. "The Council lied to you. The enemy lied to you. They told you that. Survival requires obedience. It doesn't. They told you that you're alone. You aren't." She looked directly into the camera. "For centuries, we've fought each other because someone taught us to fear the civilization next to. So that ends today. We don't need your ships. We don't need your weapons. We need you to choose." Silence. Then Mara said the words that changed the galaxy. "Stand together." For 30 seconds, nothing happened. Then a signal appeared. One civilization, then another, then 10, then 100, thousands, millions. Across the galaxy, ships began moving, not human. Ships, not alien ships, former enemies, former Council. Members, worlds that had once hated humanity. They entered the battlefield. The silver-eyed creature watched. "What are they doing?" Mara answered. "Choosing." The first alien fleet arrived, then the second, then the third. Weapons opened fire, not at humanity, at the enemy. The galaxy became a battlefield. But something had changed. Humanity was no longer fighting alone. The Ark stabilized. Its broken rings began glowing. Reyes stared. "Admiral, what?" "Look at the Ark." Mara turned. The alien fleets were feeding energy into millions of ships, millions of reactors, all connected. The Ark's damaged rings began repairing themselves. Mara understood. It wasn't designed to fight alone. Reyes smiled. What was it designed for? Mara looked at the galaxy. For everyone. The silver-eyed creature screamed. For the first time, it sounded afraid. "You cannot stop us." Mara stepped toward the screen. "We don't have to stop you." She looked at the millions of ships surrounding the enemy. "We just have to outlast you." The Ark activated, space folded. The enemy fleet was, trapped inside a massive gravitational. The enemy tried to escape. It couldn't. One by one, its ships shut down. Then the silver-eyed creature transmitted one final message. "You have no idea what you are awakening." Mara's face hardened. "Then tell us." Silence. "Who are you?" The creature answered. "We are not the enemy." Mara froze. "What?" "We are the prison guards." The transmission ended. Every sensor on the bridge began screaming. Reyes turned toward the tactical display. "Admiral." Mara looked. Beyond the enemy fleet, something was approaching. Something much larger, something that made the enemy's millions of ships look like dust. A crack appeared across space, not a wormhole, not a gate, a crack, something. On the other side was pushing. Through, the silver-eyed creature transmitted one final warning. "You wanted to know what we were protecting. The galaxy from." The crack widened. A shape appeared. Behind it, Mara stared. The entire bridge went silent. Then the creature spoke. "Now you know." The crack opened completely, and two enormous eyes appeared. On the other side, they were larger than stars, and they were looking directly at Earth. The eyes opened, and every ship in the galaxy stopped firing. Not because anyone had ordered a ceasefire, because every living creature watching the tactical displays understood the same thing. They were looking at something that should not exist. The creature beyond the crack was larger than a solar system. Its body was hidden behind layers of distorted space. Only its eyes were visible. Each one was surrounded by storms of blue-white energy. "Captain Daniel." Reyes stared at the display. "How big is it?" The sensor officer didn't answer. "Lieutenant?" The officer slowly turned. "We can't measure it." "Why?" "Because our instruments don't recognize the object as a mass." Reyes frowned. "Then what is it?" The officer whispered, "Everything." Mara Chen stood motionless. The silver-eyed enemy appeared on every communication screen. For the first time, there was no arrogance in its voice, only fear. "You should never have opened the prison." Mara looked at it. "You said you were protecting the galaxy." "We were." "From this?" "Yes, then why didn't you tell us?" The creature hesitated. "Because every civilization that learns the truth tries to use it." Mara looked toward the enormous eyes. "What is it?" The creature answered with one word: "Hungry." The first wave hit. There was no explosion, no beam, no missile. The stars simply went dark. Thousands of stars disappeared simultaneously. The alien fleet screamed warnings. Across every channel: "Retreat! Jump! Get away from it! It's consuming the systems." Mara watched the tactical display. Red dots vanished, one after another. Entire solar systems were being swallowed by the darkness. Reyes looked at her. "Orders." Mara didn't hesitate. "Evacuate the civilian fleets and the military." "Everyone!" Reyes stared. "Everyone?" "Everyone? We can't outrun that thing, I know. Then why evacuate?" Mara looked at him. "Because we're not trying to outrun it." She pointed toward the Ark. "We're buying time." Across the galaxy, humanity issued a command that no military strategist had ever imagined. "Stop fighting." Human fleets began. Retreating alien fleets followed. The battlefield emptied. The creature advanced. Slowly, it consumed another star, then another, then another. The Ark remained. Behind, alone, Mara watched from the bridge. Reyes looked at her. "It's going to destroy the Ark, probably. Then why leave it?" "Because it isn't the weapon." Reyes frowned. "What?" Mara turned toward him. "The Ark was never designed to kill that thing. Then what was it designed to do?" "Remember." Reyes stared. Mara continued. "Elias discovered something. In the Council archives, she opened a classified Valdate recording appeared. Elias Vance, 20 years younger, sitting alone in a dark room. His face looked exhausted. "If anyone is watching this," Elias said, "then I've failed to convince the Council." He paused. "And if I'm dead?" His eyes shifted toward the camera. "Then Protocol Vance must continue." Mara watched silently. Elias continued. "The Ark is not a weapon. It is a library." Reyes stared. "What?" Elias smiled faintly. "The galaxy has forgotten too much. Civilizations disappear. History disappears. Knowledge disappears. The Council made sure of that." He leaned toward the camera. "So, humanity built something that could remember. The recording ended. Reyes slowly looked at Mara. The Ark stores. Civilizations, yes, how many? Mara looked at the numbers. 23 million. Reyes went silent. 23 million civilizations? Records, language, science, history, everything. Mara looked at the darkness consuming the stars. And now we're going to use it. The Ark. But in not its weapons, its memory. Across the galaxy, every surviving civilization received a transmission. But this wasn't a warning. It wasn't a command. It was a question. Who were you? The first civilization answered. Then another. Then another. Ancient languages filled the communication network. Dead languages. Forgotten. Songs of scientific discoveries. Maps of lost worlds. The names of civilizations. Erased from history. The galaxy began remembering itself, and the enormous creature stopped. For the first time, it hesitated. Mara watched. It's working. Reyes shook his head. How? Mara pointed toward the creature. It feeds on something. What? Information. Reyes stared. Information. Not exactly. Mara looked at the ancient recordings. Memory. The creature had consumed civilizations, but not simply their planets. It had consumed their existence, their history, their identity. Every world it destroyed became forgotten, and every civilization forgotten became easier for it to consume. The Ark was doing the opposite. It was forcing the galaxy to remember. The creature roared. The sound traveled through space. Every human on the bridge felt it. The Ark shook. The creature pushed forward. Mara watched millions of stars flicker. It's attacking. Reyes looked at the sensors. No. What? It's scared. Mara smiled. Good. The creature opened its mouth. There was no physical mouth space. Itself opened. A gravitational wave swept across the galaxy. Human. Ships were thrown from hyperspace. Alien fleets lost power. The Ark's rings began collapsing. Ark integrity 40%. 30. 20. Reyes shouted, "We're losing it!" Mara stood. Opened the Ark's core. Reyes turned. That's impossible. Do it, Admiral. If we open the core, the entire structure could collapse. Mara looked at him. Then we have one chance. Reyes hesitated, then nodded. Open the core. The Ark's central sphere opened inside. It was not a reactor, it was a star, a perfect miniature star surrounded by millions of data structures. Mara stared at it, then she understood. Elias Reyes looked at her. What? He knew. Knew what? The Ark doesn't remember civilizations. She looked at the star. It remembers their mistakes. The Ark released the stored memories. 23 million civilizations. 23 million histories. 23 million final moments. The galaxy saw everything. Wars, famines, discoveries, mistakes, sacrifices, the birth of civilizations, the death of civilizations, and finally, the creature. It had been there before the first stars, before the first planets, before intelligent life. It wasn't a god. It wasn't a species. It was a phenomenon, a cosmic predator that fed on intelligent civilizations. Every civilization that reached a certain technological threshold eventually attracted it. The Council had discovered it thousands of years ago. Instead of warning everyone, they created the Galactic Council. They controlled developing civilizations. They prevented technological advancement. They erased histories. They destroyed dangerous inventions. They kept the galaxy weak, not because they wanted power, because they believed weakness was survival. But there had been one civilization that refused, humanity. And Elias had discovered the truth. The Council hadn't killed him because he was dangerous. They killed him because he was going to tell everyone. Mara stared at the revelation. You murdered him because he wanted the galaxy to grow. The silver-eyed creature appeared again. Yes. Mara's expression hardened. And you? The creature answered. We wanted the galaxy to survive. Mara looked at the enormous entity. And what happened? The creature's voice became quiet. It learned. Mara froze. What? The creature looked toward the monster. Every time it consumed a civilization, it learned from them. Reyes stared. So it's getting smarter. Yes. How much smarter? The creature looked toward humanity. Enough. The enormous entity moved. The Ark's shield shattered. The creature reached toward the galaxy. Mara stared. Then something happened. Human ship moved between the entity and the Ark. A small ship. A diplomatic vessel. The Elias Vance. Reyes stared at the display. Who authorized that? No one answered. The ship's captain opened a channel. An old human voice spoke. This is Captain Elias Vance. Mara froze. Reyes looked at her. That isn't possible. The voice continued. I know what you're thinking. Mara's eyes widened. The voice wasn't coming from the ship. It was coming from the Ark, a recording. Elias's final message. If you've reached this point, then humanity has done what I hoped it would. Not conquered, not ruled. Remembered. His voice became softer. The galaxy has spent thousands of years trying to survive by becoming smaller. But that's not survival. That's surrender. Mara looked toward the creature. Elias continued. So here's the part I never told the council. A pause. I wasn't trying to save humanity. I was trying to save everyone. The Ark began glowing. Every civilization connected to it received the same message. Elias spoke one final sentence. Whatever comes next. Face it together. The transmission ended. Silence. Then the galaxy answered. One alien fleet returned. Then another. Then thousands. Human ships turned around. The former council worlds returned. Even the silver-eyed enemy fleet came back. Mara looked at the tactical display. Every surviving civilization had formed a single line. Humanity was at the center. Not leading. Not commanding. Standing beside everyone else. Reyes looked at Mara. Orders? Mara smiled. Tell them we're ready. For what? Mara looked at the enormous entity. For the first battle the galaxy has ever fought together. The stars ignited. Millions of engines activated. Billions of weapons charged. The Ark opened every remaining ring. And for the first time in history, humanity wasn't fighting for Earth. It wasn't fighting for revenge. It wasn't fighting for survival alone. It was fighting for a galaxy that had finally decided it was worth saving. The enormous creature moved forward. The combined fleet moved with it, and somewhere deep inside the Ark, another message appeared. A message Elias had hidden 20 years earlier. Only 4 words. There is another one. Mara stared at the screen. Reyes whispered, Another what? The Ark's final star map expanded. Beyond the known galaxy. Another massive shape appeared. Then another. Then another. Thousands of them waiting in the darkness. Mara slowly smiled. Well, she looked at the assembled fleet. Looks like we woke the neighborhood. The stars were moving, not the planets, not the ships. The stars themselves. One by one they vanished from the Ark's map. Then they reappeared. Closer. Thousands of them. Mara Chen stared at the display. No. Captain Daniel Reyes stood beside her. How many? The navigation officer shook his head. We've stopped counting. Mara looked at the enormous shapes beyond the galaxy. Each one was larger than a solar system. Each one was moving toward them. The silver-eyed commander appeared on the bridge. Its expression was different now. Not hostile, not arrogant. Terrified. You have awakened the choir. Mara turned. The what? The things beyond the galaxy. Those creatures? They are not creatures. The silver-eyed being paused. They are civilizations. Reyes frowned. Civilizations? Yes. Mara looked at the thousands of enormous shapes. How can something that size be a civilization? The creature answered quietly. Because they don't build cities. They build galaxies. Silence filled the bridge. Mara stared at the display. Then she understood. The galaxy wasn't being attacked by monsters. It was being harvested by something far older. Something intelligent. Something organized. Something that had been watching the universe for billions of years. Reyes looked at Mara. So what do we do? Mara smiled faintly. What Elias always did. What? Ask questions. The silver-eyed being introduced itself. Its name could not be translated into human language. The closest approximation was Serac. Serac had served the Council's predecessor for almost 4,000 years. Not as a ruler, as a guardian. Its civilization had discovered the choir before humanity had even developed agriculture. They had fought. They had lost. Then they learned. The choir did not simply destroy civilizations. It absorbed them. Every intelligent species it consumed became part of its collective consciousness, its memories, its technology, its fears, its victories, its mistakes. The more civilizations it consumed, the more intelligent it became. The Council had discovered a horrifying truth. There was no weapon powerful enough to defeat it. So they chose another strategy. Keep civilization weak, prevent unity, destroy dangerous technologies, erase dangerous histories, and above all, never allow the galaxy to communicate as one. Mara looked at Serac. You sacrificed freedom to preserve life. Yes. You destroyed civilizations to save them. Yes. You became the monster you were afraid of. Serac lowered its head. Yes. Mara was silent. Then she said, You should have trusted us. Serac looked at her. You would have died. Mara smiled. Maybe. She looked toward the stars. But we'd have died knowing why. The combined fleet prepared for the arrival of the choir. For the first time in galactic history, every surviving civilization fought under one command structure. But Mara refused supreme command. Instead, she created something new. A council. Not the old Galactic Council. No thrones. No permanent rulers. Every civilization received one voice. Humanity received one. The smallest colony received one. The oldest empire received one. Serac watched the process. You trust them? Mara nodded. Not completely. Serac looked surprised. Then why give them authority? Because trust isn't something you give. She looked at him. It's something you build. Serac was silent. Then for the first time, it smiled. The first choir arrived 12 hours later. The galaxy's outer defenses opened fire. Every weapon humanity had ever developed fired simultaneously. Plasma, railguns, antimatter, gravitational weapons, quantum missiles. The battlefield became brighter than a star. The choir continued forward. The weapons barely slowed it. Mara watched. Fall back. The fleet retreated. The choir followed. Exactly as planned. The first creature crossed the defensive line. Then the Ark activated. 1,000,000 alien ships connected to it. The Ark projected their combined memories. The choir stopped. For 1 second. It hesitated. Mara saw it. Again, the galaxy transmitted. Memories, music, language, art, history, children laughing, people celebrating. People mourning. Every civilization showed the choir what it meant to exist. The creature screamed, its enormous body distorted. Reyes stared. What are we doing to it? Mara answered. Giving it something it never had. What? An identity. The choir attacked. But this time it didn't attack with weapons. It attacked with memories. Every ship on the battlefield suddenly received visions. Alien soldiers saw worlds they had never visited. Human pilots saw civilizations dying. Some saw their families. Some saw their greatest fears. Thousands of ships began shutting down. Mara grabbed the command console. Don't fight the visions, the fleet commanders responded. Admiral, let them pass. But they'll destroy our crews. No. Mara looked at the Ark. They're trying to make us afraid of each other. Serac suddenly understood. The choir doesn't only consume civilizations. Mara nodded. It divides them first. She opened every communication channel. Everyone listen. Her voice reached billions. The enemy wants you to believe you're alone. You aren't. It wants you to believe your neighbor is your enemy. They aren't. It wants you to remember every reason you ever hated each other. Mara's voice became stronger. Remember something else. Why you survived. The visions continued, but the fleet stayed together. The fear began fading. The choir's attack weakened. For the first time, The enormous entity retreated. Then something unexpected happened. A human scientist contacted Mara. "Admiral." "What?" "We've found something." "Where?" "Inside the Ark." Mara frowned. "What?" "Humanity's original genetic archive." "What does that have to do with the choir?" The scientist hesitated. "Everything." Mara immediately went to the laboratory. A holographic genetic sequence floated above the room. Reyes followed. "What am I looking at?" The scientist pointed. "Human DNA." Mara stared. "And it's wrong." "What do you mean?" The scientist enlarged the sequence. "Humanity's genome contains markers that don't match natural evolution." Mara froze. "How old?" The scientist looked at her. "Older than Earth." Silence. Reyes laughed nervously. "That can't be possible." "We thought so too." The scientist displayed another sequence. Then another. The sequences matched. Not alien species, not the choir. Something else. A civilization that had disappeared billions of years ago. Mara whispered, "Who created us?" The scientist shook his head. "We don't know." Then the Ark answered. A hidden file opened. Elias Vance appeared. Mara stared at his face. He looked exhausted, but he was smiling. "I knew you'd find this eventually," Reyes whispered. "He knew." Elias continued. "Humanity wasn't discovered. We weren't uplifted. We weren't created by the Council." He paused. "We were engineered." Mara's heart stopped. "By whom?" Elias looked directly into the camera. "By the first civilization that ever fought the choir." The recording changed. A symbol appeared. The same symbol was present inside the enormous creatures. Mara stared. "They made us." Elias nodded. "They created humanity as a weapon." Reyes looked stunned. "What kind of weapon?" Elias answered. "One the choir couldn't consume." The laboratory went silent. Mara looked at the genetic sequence. "So, that's why they keep failing to absorb humans." "Yes, that's why human memory affects them." "Yes, that's why the Ark works." Elias nodded. "Humanity was designed to preserve information without becoming part of the collective." Mara stared. "We were the exception." Elias smiled. "And eventually, we became something more." The recording paused. Then his expression changed. For the first time, Elias looked frightened. "There's one thing you need to understand." Mara leaned closer. "The people who created humanity." Elias stopped. "Didn't create us to defeat the choir." The screen went dark. A final message appeared. "They created humanity to replace it." Mara stared at the words. Reyes whispered, "What does that mean?" No one answered. Then every alarm on the ship activated. The Ark detected a transmission not from the choir, not from Serac, not from any known civilization. The signal had originated from Earth. Mara opened it. A woman's voice spoke. "Admiral." Chen. Mara recognized the voice. "Earth's president. We have a problem." "What happened?" Silence. Then, "The ocean has started glowing." Mara froze. "Why?" "We don't know." Another pause. "Admiral." "What?" "We found something beneath the Pacific." Mara waited. The president's voice became barely audible. "It's a structure." "How old?" The answer came slowly. "According to our instruments, 4 billion years." Mara stared at Reyes. Then the president said, "And Admiral?" "Yes?" "We think it was waiting for humanity." The transmission ended. Mara turned toward the stars. The choir was still approaching, but for the first time, she wasn't looking at them. She was looking toward Earth, toward the planet humanity had always called home. Because perhaps Earth had never been humanity's birthplace. Perhaps it had been humanity's hiding place. And beneath its oceans, something had been waiting for the day. Humanity finally became strong enough to remember what it was. The ocean was glowing. From orbit, Earth looked like someone had placed a second sun. Beneath the Pacific blue-white, light spread across thousands of kilometers of ocean. Ships had stopped moving. Aircraft had been grounded. Every satellite on the planet had turned toward the same location. Something was waking beneath the Pacific. President Elena Ward stood inside Earth's underground command center. Around her, Scientists stared at a holographic image of the seafloor. The structure beneath the ocean was enormous. It wasn't a building, it was a machine, and it extended beneath the entire Pacific. These and the scientists swallowed. Madam President, what? We've confirmed the age. 4 billion years. Yes, Elena stared at the display. Earth is only 4.5 billion years old. We know. So whoever built this was here almost immediately after the planet formed. Elena looked toward the senior archaeologist. Why didn't we find it before? The scientist shook his head. We couldn't. Why? It wasn't buried. Elena frowned. What do you mean? The scientist enlarged the hologram. The machine wasn't underneath the ocean. It was underneath reality. Its physical structure existed partly in another dimension. Earth had never been hiding it. The universe had. Then the entire command center shook. The lights went out. Emergency. Systems activated. A voice came through the speakers. Not human, not alien, ancient. The child has awakened. Everyone froze. Elena looked at the scientists. Who said that? No one answered. The voice returned. The child must remember. Then the machine opened. 300 light years away, Mara-Chen received the transmission. The moment Earth's signal arrived, the Ark reacted. Every light on the bridge turned white. Reyes grabbed the console. What is happening? Mara stared at the Ark's central star. It recognizes Earth. Serac appeared on the bridge, the silver-eyed. Bing looked at the display, then it froze. No, Mara turned. You know what that is? Serac didn't answer. Serac, he finally spoke. That structure predates the Council. How old? Older than my species? Mara looked at him. How old? Serac's voice became quiet. Older than the choir. The bridge went silent. Reyes looked toward the display. Then who built it? Serac stared at Earth. Your ancestors. The answer shocked Mara. Humanity had believed its history began on Earth. Serac explained that the truth was much stranger. Billions of years ago, an ancient civilization had discovered the choir. They couldn't defeat it, so they created something new. Not a weapon, not an army. A species, capable of independent thought that couldn't be absorbed into the choir. They called that project humanity. But humanity wasn't created in its current form. Evolved, changed, adapted. The ancient creators eventually disappeared. Their technology vanished. Their civilization died. But humanity survived. Serac looked at Mara. They believed you would eventually rediscover the technology. Mara shook her head. Why wait billions of years? Serac answered. Because they knew you couldn't be forced to become what they wanted. What did they want? Serac looked at her. They wanted you to choose. On Earth, the machine opened completely. A massive structure rose from the Pacific Ocean. It was larger than a continent. Its surface was covered in enormous geometric patterns. Then, the machine began transmitting. Every human device on Earth received the same message, no matter the language, no matter the country. Every person heard it in their own language. You have survived. People across Earth stopped what they were doing. The voice continued. You have suffered. Images appeared in the sky. Ancient civilizations, wars, the eye. Council, the choir, Elias Vance, every important moment in human history. You have remembered. The voice paused. Then, now choose. 3 symbols appeared. 1 represented power. 1 represented isolation. 1 represented unity. The entire planet watched. The president looked at the symbols. What happens if we choose power? The machine answered. You become what destroyed the ancient ones. What about isolation? You survive. And unity? Silence, then you change the universe. Mara stared at the transmission. Reyes looked at her. What does that mean? Mara shook her head. I don't know. Serac did. Neither do I. Mara looked at him. You're afraid? Yes. Why? Serac pointed toward the stars. Because if humanity chooses unity. He stopped. Mara waited. The choir can no longer consume you. Reyes smiled. That's good. Serac shook his head. No. What? The choir is not afraid of dying. He looked at Mara. Is afraid of what happens when something it cannot consume become stronger than... Mara stared at the stars. Then we have to make that happen. The choir attacked Earth. No warning. No negotiation. Millions of ships appeared around the solar system. Human. Defense fleets rushed into position. Mars activated its planetary shields. The moon deployed its hidden weapons. Earth's orbital defense network came online, but this time, something was different. The ancient structure beneath the Pacific began transmitting energy. Every human ship received power. Every reactor doubled, then tripled. The arc connected to Earth. The two ancient machines became one network. Mara watched the tactical display. The enemy fleet was approaching. Open the channel. The silver eyes appeared. You found the inheritance, Mara. Answered yes, you don't understand it. Then, explain. The creature's voice was almost pleading. Don't activate it. Why? Because it will make you like us. Mara frowned. You said humanity was created to replace you. Yes. Then why are you afraid? The creature paused. Because we know what we became. Mara looked at the approaching fleet. Maybe we won't become you. The creature whispered. Everyone says that. The transmission ended. The battle began. The choir attacked with everything. Humanity responded. But the ancient structure beneath Earth did something unexpected. It didn't fire. It opened. A wave spread from Earth. It crossed the solar system, then the galaxy. Every living mind felt it. For 1 second, everyone experienced the same memory. Not a human memory, not an alien memory, the memory of the ancient creators. They stood beneath a different sky millions of years ago, facing the choir, and they were losing their soul. Leader spoke. We cannot defeat them, another answered. Then we must create something they cannot understand. What? The leader looked toward a newborn planet. Choice. The memory ended. Mara opened her eyes. She understood. Humanity wasn't created to be stronger than the choir. It was created to be unpredictable. The choir could absorb knowledge. It could absorb technology. It could absorb memories, but it couldn't absorb a choice that had no predetermined outcome. Humanity's greatest weapon wasn't its ships. It wasn't the Ark. It wasn't the ancient machine. It was free will. Mara opened every channel, every human fleet, every alien fleet, every surviving civilization. She spoke. We've spent our entire history trying to become stronger. We built bigger weapons, bigger ships, stronger shields. We thought survival meant becoming impossible to defeat. She looked toward Earth. We were wrong. The choir approached. Mara continued. Survival means remaining, capable of choosing what we become. She looked at Sarek, then at the alien fleets, then at humanity. No empire, no council, no master, no species above another. We choose. Together. The ancient structure beneath Earth activated. A beam of light rose from the Pacific. It reached the moon, then Mars, then the Ark, then every human ship, then every allied ship. The galaxy lit. The choir stopped. For the first time in billions of years, it couldn't predict what would happen next. The enormous creature spoke. What have you done? Mara smiled. We chose. The choir began. Collapsing, not dying, changing. Its collective consciousness fractured. Millions of absorbed civilizations separated. Their memories returned. Their voices returned. Their identities returned. Across the battlefield, the enormous creatures began shrinking. One became a million became billions. The galaxy watched as ancient civilizations emerged from the choir. Species thought extinct for billions of years returned, not physically, but as consciousness, memories, knowledge, history. The galaxy received them. The Ark stored them. Humanity remembered them. The choir had spent billions of years consuming civilizations. Now, for the first time, it was giving them back. The silver-eyed being appeared one final time. Its form was smaller now, almost human-sized. It looked tired. What happens to us? Mara answered, You get a choice. The creature stared at her. A choice? Yes, you would give that to us? Mara smiled. That's the point. Years later, historians would call the event the Awakening. The old council was gone. The choir was gone. The galaxy was no longer ruled by fear, but humanity never became the ruler it could have become. Instead, the worlds created something new, a civilization without a throne, a federation without a permanent emperor, a military without a single commander, a galaxy where the smallest world could speak to the largest, and at the center of it all stood Earth, not as a capital, as a reminder. One monument was built beneath the Pacific, another was built beside Elias Vance's memorial. The second monument carried only one sentence. It had been written by Mara Chen. They gave us the power to rule the universe. We chose not to. Beneath was a smaller inscription, 4 words. Elias would have smiled, but the story wasn't over, because 27 years after the awakening, humanity received a transmission from outside the diverse, not outside the galaxy, outside the universe. The message contained no threat, no demand, only coordinates, and one sentence. We have found your creators, Mara. Chen was long gone by then, but her successor stood before the transmission. He looked at the stars, then at the ancient Pacific structure, then at the final message. He smiled. Send a ship, his commander hesitated. Diplomatic or military? The president thought about Elias Vance, then about the millions of civilizations humanity had saved. Diplomatic, he paused. And make sure they know something. What? The president smiled. Humanity remembers the coordinates. Activated space opened, and the first human ship crossed beyond the edge of reality, toward the place where humanity's creators were waiting. The human ship crossed the edge of reality. For the first time in history, humanity left the universe. There was no explosion, no tunnel, no sensation of movement. One moment, the stars were there. The next, there was nothing. No stars, no galaxies, no darkness, just an endless silver ocean. Captain Daniel Reyes stared through the bridge window. Where are we? The navigation officer shook his head. Nowhere. Reyes frowned. That isn't an answer. It is, according to the instruments. Mara. Chen stood behind him. She was older now. Her hair had turned silver, but her eyes were the same. What do you see? The officer pointed toward the display. One object. A small point of light appeared. Mara looked at it. Take us there. The ship moved. After several hours, the object became visible. It wasn't a planet. It wasn't a station. It was a door, a gigantic door floating in the silver. It was covered in symbols. Mara recognized one. Immediately, the same symbol from the ancient structure beneath Earth's Pacific, humanity's original symbol, the door. And someone was waiting. They looked human. That was the first shock. 2 arms, 2 legs, faced eyes and mouth, but they were impossibly old. Their skin was pale, silver. Their eyes contained tiny galaxies. The figure stepped forward. Approached. Who are you? The figure smiled. We are the first. Your species created humanity? Yes, why? The first looked toward the ship. Because we were afraid. Mara's expression hardened. Afraid of the choir? No. Then what? The first looked directly at her. Ourselves. Billions of years ago, the first civilization had reached the highest level of technology imaginable. They had conquered disease, death, distance, energy. They could create stars, move planets, build artificial universes. They believed they had solved existence. Then they discovered something terrifying. They had become predictable. Every member of their civilization shared memories, shared emotions, shared knowledge, shared decisions. Individuality disappeared. At first, it seemed wonderful. There was no disagreement, no war, no crime, no loneliness. Then there was no freedom. The first had accidentally created their own version of the choir, a civilization without individuals. A civilization without choice. So they built humanity not as soldiers, as an experiment, a species designed to remain individual. Emotional, unpredictable, capable of making irrational decisions, capable of choosing sacrifice over survival, capable of choosing love over logic. Mara stared at them. So humanity was an experiment. The first nodded. Yes. Reyes stepped forward. And when the experiment worked, The first looked ashamed. We became afraid of you, Mara laughed quietly. You created us, then hid from us? We believed you would eventually become like us. And did we? The first shook their head. No. Why? The first smiled. Because you kept making mistakes. Mara raised an eyebrow. That sounds like an insult. It is a compliment. The first looked toward Earth. You fought wars. You made terrible decisions. You betrayed each other. You forgave each other. You destroyed cities. You rebuilt them. You lost everything. And somehow, the first smiled. You continued.